Hi, Michelle. What an outrageous article. Did you see that?
I mean, I can say I was flabbergasted, but I wasn't, because it happens every
day.
Yeah.
And, somewhere in this, so we're talking about the U.S. News. They ranked the top best and worst diets for 2018. And the most shocking thing is that diets that contain things like Atkins bars with processed, who knows what kind of crap in them, and sorry, I said crap on live Facebook. Oh, I know. And what was the other one? Slim Fast with high fructose corn syrup, and I mean, I would starve before I put that stuff in my body, Michelle.
And Medifast, yeah, Medifast. It's the powdered stuff it's powdered meals. It's powdered food. You mix it and it becomes eggs.
Right. So this is in the news, and these are so-called experts in their field. Experts in nutrition and weight loss, and who are these people? Let me see. So there's an associate professor, clinical division of nutrition, University of Utah, Salt Lake City. There is a director for the Weight Management Center at Johns Hopkins University. Now, nice places, like well-known places. But, there's a huge difference between old school and the new rules for weight loss. And we all know this, because how many of you watching right now have tried to eat right, count your calories, and exercise more, and struggle to lose weight? Now, millions of women out there are struggling with this thing, and here are people telling them that it's all about calorie counting. I mean, the lead person in this article, let me just read this. She's published a book on how to eat carbs and lose weight. Okay, so what percent of people can actually do that in the face of insulin resistance and the rising diabetes on this planet and continent? Like, how?
Well, and what absolutely flabbergasts me the most is not only are they promoting many diets, and it's not all of the diets that are at the top of the list, but many of the diets that rank higher than paleo, which ranked 32, and keto, which ranked 39, the bottom. There were 40 and there were some ties. Many of the diets that ranked higher do not promote health. And when we're at our natural weight, we are healthy. So a diet that promotes one thing will generally promote everything. And these diets are healthy. They're said to be not good for long-term weight loss, not good for diabetes. They're difficult to follow. They have too much prep and food involved. And it absolutely flabbergasts me that we are still, by the old school and by the media that is shouting at us all the time, being taught that eating processed foods is fine, and that there is a silver bullet and there is a quick way to your health. Investing time in yourself and in your body clearly is way too hard and way too much effort, and it's not rates 40. Like, why do that?
And they ranked it, right? They were talking about how easy it is or hard it is to stick to, and they would rather recommend artificial fake food because it's easy for you to follow than actually take the time to prepare your own meals and make your own food, which is what we teach all of our clients. Make food a priority. I had a patient today. I said, I need you to be responsible for what you feed your body, because you're either fueling your energy and metabolism and fat burning, or you're feeding fat. You pick, and you're feeding disease by putting the wrong things. Now, how much evidence is there? So, okay, let's not say how much evidence. As our chief clinical functional medicine nutritionist at Better, I want you to tell our viewers about these following things I'm going to ask you. Is there evidence, scientific evidence, that fat is bad?
Well, wonderfully, fat has been exonerated very recently. It's never been vilified. There's always been these theories that fat has been bad, and they have been trying to prove it for decades, unsuccessfully. but they're still trying to prove it. Now, with all the good intentions, the theories of the dietitians and those who have made our dietary and nutrition policies have been, well, we don't know, but let's just rather do this just in case. Now, what has happened is there's been a big backlash in our health, but fat has never really been has never been proven to be the demon that we've been told it is. Now, very recently, and there have been studies that have proven that it's good, but very recently there was a huge study result that came out called the PURE study, and you guys can look it up, and it was very complex, and it was a long time study of people over many years. But what basically came out is that people who eat diets that are higher in fat live longer and are healthier. Go figure.
And the Mediterranean diet, which ranked quite high. I mean, I think it was number one. Dash and Mediterranean.
Yeah.
So the Mediterranean diet is actually quite high in fat. And when I was in Europe, I was wonderfully in awe of I was blown away by how much olive oil people consume in Europe. I mean, they take that bottle and they pour straight from the bottle. Like, there's no counting how much olive oil they eat, because it goes, so after they prepare the meal, they take the bottle and they squirt olive oil all over it. The people sitting in the restaurants, they take the bottles and they pour it on their plate before they eat. Every bite of bread gets olive oil put on it. That's a high fat diet.
However, the way that the Mediterranean diet is portrayed to us in North America, it's a very moderate fat diet that's high in whole grains and nuts and seeds and vegetables, and it's low in red meat. Actually, when they discuss the diet and the pros of the diet on the Diet Review and the US News, they say that it's low in red meat, saturated fat, and sugar. Now, it does tend to be lower in red meat. They don't have the land for as many cows there. What they fail to add is a true Mediterranean diet. Not only is it high in fish, but it's really high in pork and lamb and goat, which are actually fattier than red meat. They also fail to really comprehend the true amount that the real Mediterraneans eat when it comes to fat and when it comes to these monounsaturated fats in their olive oil. They emphasize the nuts and they emphasize the fish, and they'll happily emphasize the whole grain and the pasta. But any of you who've been to Italy will understand that pasta is a condiment. The bread is actually, for the most part, is a condiment to the veggies and the fish and the lamb and the goat and the pork and the olive oil. So even what we're seeing here, or what we're being told here as what we're being told is the Mediterranean diet, isn't. It's an aberration of the fat.
So just enough, sorry, not enough, but just one thing is the Mediterranean diet is the most scientifically studied. And it has the highest medical publications supporting it for health. And right or wrong, good or bad, there's a lot of value in it because it's promoting the olive oil, the nuts and the seeds. It's promoting. Now, I saw this in Italy myself, that your plate shows up with, like, I had half a plate of Savoy cabbage and a piece of chicken covered in my tomato sauce and, of course, drizzled in olive oil. And I had a small piece of bread on the side with a second serving available to me. But it's not as copious and excessive in serving size as we have in North America. And I think that's partly what we've got wrong here. The next thing is that we pick and choose what we say to patients because it suits us. And I think the point of having you live for all of our clients and followers to see is I wanted to discuss this because we all believe the news. I grew up thinking that if it's in the news, and heck, I'm from South Africa, so are you. If it's in the news, it's got to be true. Right?
Right? It's on TV. Sure, my gosh, they can't make that up.
They can't make it up. Well, I want you to be able to critically analyze what you see and hear. Because what we know for absolute certain is that fat is not bad. It is necessary. And low-fat diets, low-calorie diets are the ones that have the shortest lifespan. in that, no, I don't mean your lifespan, but the lifespan of the diet, because you will gain that weight again. You will fail on that diet. If you've ever tried a low calorie, low fat diet, what happens? You get cranky and moody. Your hair dries and falls out. Your skin dries. You lose some weight and then you plateau. Right? The irritability, the moodiness. Why? Because fat is such an important molecule. Your cell membranes have lipid molecules in them. Your brain is mostly made of fat. All of your hormones come from fat. And so, if you go back to basic physiology, it makes no sense to recommend low fat. And if you talk to us about cholesterol and say, well, my doctor said it's about my cholesterol, well, really? Cholesterol is such an important anti-inflammatory molecule, Michal. In functional medicine, as you know, when we see a high cholesterol, the first question we say is, why is it high? Other than a diet of McDonald's and pizza, which those people tend not to come to us,
Right.
they're eating healthy, or as healthy as they know how. And so when cholesterol's high, we're looking at micronutrient deficiencies. We're looking at heavy metal toxicities. We're looking at chronic infections. Even acute infections will make your cholesterol levels go up. And these are scientific and physiological facts. We're not making this up. There's no way to say that this is not true, because this is a fact. If you read lipidology, if you look at the complexity of cholesterol molecules and what they actually do and how they respond. So I want you as a consumer, as a viewer, as a person who reads the news and watches things, don't be fooled by these experts, because for every expert for it, there's against it. I mean, look at Ansel Keys and his cholesterol study. He excluded the data that didn't support his hypothesis. That's how he proved low-fat diets work, right?
He did.
Ansel Keys is the name, and that's how this whole cholesterol myth started.
Well, and actually, if you're going, this is just so interesting, and I'm going down a bit of a rabbit hole, but you guys might find this pretty cool. Is that at the same time he had his nemesis called Yudkin, right? And Yudkin had this theory that sugar was what was causing all the inflammation and the obesity and the heart disease epidemic that was starting to come up slowly in the 60s. And what happened was there was almost a battle of who could speak louder and who could stamp more. And Ansel Keys was a little bit better connected. He had a much louder voice. He belittled and berated and degraded Carl Yudkin to the point that I think he was almost disbarred from the medical establishment in order to get his point across. So I think one of the other things that I'm trying to say with this, and I think Dr. Aya is trying to say too, is don't get stuck in a dogma. Don't get stuck with this is right, this is the only thing that's right, and nothing else can ever be right other than what this is right now.
There is no one thing that's going to give you all the results you're looking for. You need to understand that. There's no one hormone prescription. There's no one thing in your diet. There's no one supplement that's going to make you healthy and lose the weight. But, the point is, and I think we completely digressed here. So I want to just come back to this US News Today. And I want to criticize these so-called experts, because we know, I worked in a hospital for 8 years and I admitted diabetics, and I have a constant fight with the dietitian. So we're talking about traditionally trained dietitians who tell you to eat a certain amount of grain and follow the Canada Food Guide. How's that working for you guys? Are you finding real health from following the Canada Food Guide? Not a chance. Anyway, so let's not go over there. However, traditionally trained dietitians have diabetics consuming carbs and saying, well, it's part of a normal healthy diet, and then let's take some insulin, your fat fertilizing hormone that's known to accelerate heart disease, and use that to manage your blood sugar levels, instead of using the diet to reduce the blood sugar levels and not need more and more insulin. So remember the schools of thought and training, and that it takes time for everything to catch up in modern medicine. 10 years ago, we all knew that testosterone helped men have better blood sugar control and reduced angina. And only after androgel became a big thing did doctors start hearing that you should balance men's testosterone levels for optimal glycemic control in the diabetic man. That was old news at the time, but of course, new news in regular medicine because now there's a drug to promote it. Well, because there's a drug to lower cholesterol, you hear what you hear. There's no drug that replaces good fats. And the day there is, you'll start hearing why good fats are good for you. That being said, this article is going to be everywhere, all over the news, because all of you are going to start looking for diets, looking for things to do this new year to get healthier, whether it's exercising more, eating differently, making small changes in your diet, whatever it is, you're going to take this article and you're going to go, oh my gosh, now I don't know what to do. Right? And you're going to go, oh, I should follow that Mediterranean diet or the DASH diet. Now, the DASH diet, they're talking in this article, they're talking about how it reduces blood pressure and it has these cardiovascular benefits. Mikhail, do you want to bring that up just quickly, please? So, it was praised for how complete it is. And I'm just going to read some of this off the article. So it's heart healthy, it's nutritionally sound. What's this? Lots of grunt work.
Those are the cons.
Okay, so apparently there's lots of grunt work and somewhat pricey. Now, I don't know about you, but I find that buying Frankenfood is a lot more costly. Now, okay, I don't know what Frankenfood costs because we don't have any in my house, but I assume that if you're buying a diet product, it's going to cost you extra because it's got somebody's name attached and it's called diet food and they're going to make a lot more money off of it. So they jack up the price. Your price of tomatoes is not going up because there's nothing fancy about it. So for a 2,000 calorie diet, you should shoot each day for 6 to 8 servings of grain. 6 to 8 servings of grain, 4 to 5 servings of veggies and each of veggies and fruits. So that's 10 servings, 2 to 3 of fat-free or low-fat dairy. So first of all, fat-free and low-fat dairy have sugar replacing the fat. So now we're upping your sugar, which is inflammatory and diabetes promoting. 8 servings of grain is pure carbohydrates. I don't care if some of it is whole grain, you're eating bread and whatever else they tell you to eat. So now the glycemic index of this is way higher because they mentioned the glycemic index diet here. Okay, I'm excited and I'm talking really fast. I hope you know what the glycemic index is. This is how we, there's a measure, and whether it's valid today or not, it is somewhat valid. I like talking about it because it gives you something to think about. The glycemic index of your food is how fast does your blood sugar level rise in response to this food. What we know and what we look at in functional medicine and functional nutrition is the faster your sugar level rises and the higher it rises after you eat, the more insulin your body makes to bring your blood sugar level back to a normal narrow range. So your body requires for health optimal blood sugar levels. When your sugar levels are high, insulin's going to take that sugar and store it as fat. That's its role in your body. So I think that some people can eat grain with no adverse health effects. I think some people can be vegetarian and have good health. Right? Sure. But it's not for everyone. And that's my point. You're going to read this and think, I've got to go do this Mediterranean diet. And oh, look, it says 8 servings of grains. Well, if you're insulin resistant, you do not need 8 servings of grain a day. You will not gain health. Right?
100%. And I think a lot of these old school diets are still stuck in this old diet dogma of the calories in, calories out theory, and the assumption that we came up with a few decades ago that whole grains are necessary for whole health. Or that any grains are necessary for any type of health. And we know now, and this is the new science, it's not yet the new medicine, but it is the new science that we can get way more nutrition, way more vitamins, minerals, and nutrients, way more fiber, believe it or not, and we know how important fiber is, way more fiber from eating our vegetables, even the starchy vegetables. Even if you're looking at something as high glycemic as a white potato, it is way more nutritionally valuable to you and your body than a whole grain. So you'll notice that a lot of the diets that rank high really fall in alignment with the Canadian Food Guide, the Canada Food Guide, or the USDA Food Pyramid, or the Australian Food, all of them, because they're the same. They're all based on the same thing. And this ranking is really based on how much you comply, for all intents and purposes, to this pyramid, and we'll adjust it and make it work. I mean, one of the cons of the DASH diet was it requires a lot of grunt work. Well, one of the cons of the paleo diet, and one of the cons of the Whole30 program, and one of the cons of the keto diet is exactly the same thing. It requires a little bit of work. Yeah. So
can you imagine that experts in health and nutrition are saying that convenience and putting, artificially processed food into your body is better for you because it's less work? I mean, I'm sorry, but health is work. Health takes dedication, it takes effort, it takes education, it takes discrimination, figuring out what's right and what's wrong for you. And you are a biochemically and genetically unique individual. What's going to work for you is not going to work for someone else. My husband and I cannot follow the same food plan and get the same weight loss results. We cannot maintain on the same food plan because we're different. Right? And, my physician partner, Dr. Carr, who's in India, she can't even tolerate 30 grams of carbs a day based on how severe her insulin resistance is. And she comes from a country where genetically and culturally, they all eat rice. Well, my heritage is East Indian. I've never been there, but I'm supposed to be able to eat rice. Well, I can look at rice and grow belly fat. I don't even need to eat it. So you will know what works for you, but be discerning with what information you take seriously. And understand that, is there a role for, and I'm not going to say all doctors know nothing. No, we all know lots about some things, and then we don't know lots about the other things because we have our areas of interest. I mean, if you asked me about physiatry or spinal something, I mean, whatever, neurology, well, I'm going to have to go read up on these things, okay? But you ask me about what works to get the weight off of patients, and I can tell you that teaching someone to eat processed and artificial and quick food is not the right way, because then it makes them lazy. And you know what? So it costs more to eat whole food in time and money. First of all, I don't think so. Second of all, it costs a lot of time and money to be sick. How much will it cost you to have that heart attack or get the cancer? And sure, follow the DASH diet and think you're going to prevent a heart attack. I'd like to see that. This is the day and age where everything has changed. This might have worked way back when. So let's talk about why is there science and evidence and people still believing that all of this works, Michal, because I think that's important. Let's acknowledge why this information is out there. And I think it's because, back when, it might have worked up to a point for a certain number of people. We know that the data gets very skewed medically based on what drug can be sold and promoted, how sick we can keep people, because medicine's a sickness business, isn't it? And there's not a lot of money to be made in health, but that's just my own opinion and yours, I think,
yeah,
too.
Right.
But actually, now the world is more toxic. Your food quality is lower. Your genetics haven't evolved to keep up with the way other things have changed. And we'll talk about this more in future videos. But here's the point. That's old news and old science. And we're still talking about it like it still works. Well, if all of these diets actually worked and they've been around for how many years, why do we have an obese population? Why do we have doctors still telling patients that eating less and exercising more gets you results when it doesn't? Every single day, I'm having patients say, oh my gosh, doc, today, In my first week, I dropped 5 pounds. I couldn't believe it. And the lady said, my tire deflated around my belly from cutting the carbs, getting rid of the grain. So in clinical practice and in our weight loss program, and we have the metabolic reset program, part of it is assessing how sensitive are you to carbs, and do you need to eat carbs to be healthy? And the answer is very individual per person based on your hormones, your genetics, your toxic burden. So back again to, yes, the science existed at one point, some of it fake science, manipulated data. You have something to say.
Oh, I have lots to say. And for anybody who wants an unbelievably comprehensive bird's eye view of how our nutrition guidelines came into being, get hold of a book by a fabulous lady called Nina Teicholz. It's called The Big Fat Surprise, and it is the history of our food guidelines. And it actually explains to you as a story, and it's this exciting drama, mystery, intense story, what got manipulated and what got negotiated in order to have our nutrition guidelines in place as they are. And people really assume that the nutrition guidelines are a scientific document. They are not. They are a financial and an agricultural document. They are a document that was created to benefit a whole bunch of interest groups. And really, although they came out of good intentions, which was health, they were based on profit and benefit for so many other people. And what people fail to understand, well, then they go, well, just don't follow the guidelines. And that's an easy thing to say, but the guidelines influence policy across the board. If you have a child and your child is fed at school, your child is fed according to the Canada Food Guide. If you are in a hospital, and I've had the unfortunate privilege of spending weeks in a hospital and being fed Canada Food Guide food, that is what you are fed. If you are in any type of institution, if you are teaching in any institution, if you are learning about nutrition from anything that is getting any type of government funding whatsoever, you are taught the Canada Food Guide. If you need to be insured or you need to be underwritten by any company that is beholden, and if they're in this country, they are beholden in some way to our government, you have to follow these nutrition and these food guides. So although on a personal level, you might think you have a choice, and yes, you do, it is a whole lot bigger than us. And although we think that it is a science-based document, it isn't. And funnily enough, and I've been quite involved in some committees for change in the Canada Food Guide, and they were the Canada Food Guide was supposed to have been revamped 2 years ago now, in 2015. They're still working on it. The US guidelines were revised then, and there wasn't a big hullabaloo about it. You didn't hear, this didn't make the same headlines as the US news diet, but they very quietly removed the cap on cholesterol in food. They very quietly removed the amount of fat recommended in a diet. If you look at the guidelines now, there is no cap on cholesterol. It's not even mentioned. And it doesn't tell you how much fat to limit or how to limit your fats during the day. This is because of public pressure as a result of the real scientific evidence that has come to pass. Now, it takes a while. Governments are slow, and the financial interests of the parties that were involved in creating these guidelines and these plans are really put at risk. So it becomes really important whenever we're looking at any document that is purported to promote your health. Right. Who else is it promoting, or what else is it promoting?
So here's something
in the
else.
Interim?
While you're talking about this, I'm committed to picking apart all of this stuff. But, okay, on the DASH diet, too much alcohol can elevate blood pressure and damage the liver, brain, and heart. If you drink, do so in moderation. That's 1 drink a day for women, 2 a day for men. A drink is considered 12 ounces of beer, 5 ounces of wine, or 1.5 ounces of liquor. Now, I know many people who would be so excited to hear this because they just love their glass of wine a day. But did you know that women who drink 3 glasses of wine a week or equivalent, so 3 alcoholic beverages a week, are at higher risk for breast cancer? This is in the traditional medical journals. So here's a diet promoting a drink a day, raising your risk for cancer, but telling you you're going to be healthier. And this is why I want you to be confused by what you see and hear. And I want you to be committed to your own health and your own education, because it's your education that's going to empower you to make the right choices about what's right for you. I have a family history of breast cancer, colon cancer, and multiple family members. So it's not just one, right? Is this diet right for me if I want to be healthy? I have diabetes in every single person on my dad's side, and on my mom. My mom and my dad are diabetic. According to traditional medicine, I have a more than 97% chance of diabetes, right? Should I be eating 8 servings of grain a day? Not only will I be at least 5 or 6 sizes bigger than I am today because I can't eat any servings of grain a day, my body doesn't like it. I don't feel good. I feel tired. I feel lethargic. I gain belly fat off of any grain. So how can I now pay attention to this CNN article and not be confused if I didn't know any better? And that's why I say to you, you must be committed to your own education and make up your own mind about what's going to work for you. And this is the most devastating thing that could have come out in the news ever, because so many people are going to get sicker. Their diabetes is going to show up now if they start following closely. I mean, imagine someone sitting in the pre-diabetic state, starting to eat 8 servings of grain and an ounce of a glass of wine every day, and not being taught about sugar levels and insulin levels and all of those things. So, you know, what else?
I think we've about covered it. I just can't stress enough how important it is to not look for the silver bullet fix. There isn't. There is no silver bullet fix to your health. The same way that you will invest time and money in your education, the same way that you will invest time and money in what you look like, the same way that you will invest time and money in your relationships, the same way that you will invest time and hopefully save money for your retirement or to make sure that you are financially secure. Take that same amount of care, that same amount of love for your body, because all of that investment that you are doing in everything else, the payoff is going to be so much greater when you're an older person, when you're well into your 70s and your 80s and your 90s and you're independent. You don't have Alzheimer's or dementia. You don't have a non-infectious disease. You don't have type 2 diabetes. You don't have heart disease.
Sorry, you said dementia, and I'm just dying inside, because dementia is also called type 3 diabetes, right? And if you read David Perlmutter's work, and you know, my dad said, oh, I started to read the book, and the whole book's about no grain. I got it. My dad's a diabetic, and he was concerned about his memory. And he didn't ever want to give up grain. He didn't ever want, because his doctor has him eating Alpen cereal every morning with a banana or half a banana. So he follows his doctor's orders.
Good boy.
My diabetic dad. And he limits his bread now, at that point, to whole grain bread. And so he was following a sort of modified DASH diet. And then his memory started to fail. And by the way, he's also on a cholesterol lowering drug, which is known to affect memory, and diabetes drugs, right? So he's on these drugs to lower his blood sugar, and he's on all these foods that raise his blood sugar. And I said to him, well, if you really want my opinion, this was before I gave him the book. And I said, if you really want my opinion, what, you know, you're going to have to follow my opinion. And in the first place, you're taking drugs, but you're eating the foods that make you need the drugs. So why don't we get rid of the foods that make you need the drugs, and then get rid of the drugs and see what happens? So he didn't listen to me. And then he comes to me and he goes, no, I'm really concerned about my memory. So I said, okay, I have a book for you. And I gave him Grain Brain by David Perlmutter. And after he read that, he quit all grain. So he's now pretty much paleo like we are. He eats bacon. We get grass-fed, grass-finished meat, of course, because if you're going to eat meat and you're going to eat meat fat, make sure it's safe and it's good for you. So when we're telling you to eat fat, we want you to know about the difference between commercially raised animals and the type of meat that we would promote you eat. Anyway, my dad tried this, and within 2 weeks, his memory started to improve. He just got off the grain, he got off the DASH diet, and his memory is better.
Yeah, and it is that results can be that quick. Now, if you guys do want to learn how to choose your foods and how to become your own health detective, your own food detective, you got to come and join us for one or some of our programs, because we really, this conversation here is the beginning. It's not even scratching the tip of the iceberg. And we have so much more information to give with regards to food and lifestyle and health, and how all of that forms the foundation for you living the life that you know you want to live. So we don't want you to take every word that we're saying here as the final word either.
It's how to customize for yourself. And notice I've said that a few times. What works for you is not going to work for someone else. What works for her is not going to work for me. And so you mentioned programs, and let's just talk about the Metabolic Reset program. So we have a Metabolic Reset program starting January 15th at the clinic. It's live, and we're working on live streaming it to any of you who are not in Calgary and can't make it into the clinic at 12:30 every second Monday. It's an intensive education series that will help you understand how food affects your body. It will reset your metabolism so that you can eat freely. I've never said don't drink alcohol at all. That would be bad, because then I would have to go without my red wine forever, and that's not going to happen. And no, I'm not giving up bacon on Sundays either. So I love the ketogenic diet, but this is one thing I just want to laugh at, right? So we're looking at this article online, the CNN, this is the Health News, and it's talking about low carb and why you should do it and why you shouldn't do it. So here's the pros and cons. So it's a short-term diet, no calorie counting or exercise required. Now, first of all, exercise is essential for health, right? It is absolutely essential for health. You must have muscle mass. You must have strength. There are studies that prove that if you can, the sit to stand test, right? Mm-hmm. So Google that. It's called the sit to stand test, and try it out, because your longevity is predicted by your muscle strength. So why would we ever tell you not to exercise? Like, really? So any diet that says, so these are your experts telling you to not exercise, and that's a pro of the diet. Now, I want to go back to the previous one, please, because I had a point to make. Sorry, Michael changed the screen, the point I was going to make. It was on the Whole30. So it says, only the highly committed and organized need apply to do the Whole30 diet. Really? Why shouldn't you be highly committed and organized to be healthy? Why should you be lazy and stop at Wendy's and McDonald's and count calories so that you can still eat junk food, feed your disease junk food, and think that this is healthy because the experts told you you can do that?
Or because you've got enough points in your program.
That's right. So you can save all your points and eat chocolate all day and think that you're healthy but get dementia out of it. And it says that these are short-term diets. No, here's the biggest thing I want you to get, and that's why I started the Metabolic Reset program. There is no short-term diet. Diet has to get out of your head now. You have to find a food style. I made that word up. A food style that feeds your body and your metabolism and your health, that's going to work for you for the rest of your life. Not a diet that gets 20 pounds off and then it all comes back again. Right? So get the word diet out of your head. Start looking for a food style. At Better, we don't just treat you for hormones. The hormones are one teeny tiny piece of the puzzle. We help you reset your entire body, your metabolism, your physiology, so that you get long-term health, not short-term results. Right? And that's the biggest thing. Like, this article really pissed me off. It made me so mad, right? Because I was like, here's another reason a whole bunch more people are going to get more sick and more unhealthy and more hormonally unbalanced, because everything you feed your body affects your hormones.
Yeah.
And not one of the diets here, not one of these diets they mention encompass meditation and mindfulness, stress reduction. How can that be left out of a process that helps you get rid of fat? How?
It's not on the food pyramid.
Right? And so you're getting information from these experts who are ignoring the simple fact that hormones regulate your metabolism. How many people take hormones, just quick hormone prescriptions, and are still overweight and still struggling to burn fat?
Well, we see them all the time.
That's right. So even though hormones control your metabolism, they interact with a whole bunch of other hormones in your body, and your food affects your hormones, and your stress affects your hormones, and everything is connected. So in summary, we have the Metabolic Reset Program, which is available to you by live stream. We hope she figures it out, because I'm just not technical. Okay?
I got it.
So let us know if you're joining us on the Metabolic Reset Program that starts January 15th, and we will give you all of the simple steps. It's not intensive, like it says here. Very easy to implement strategies that will teach you how to pick the food that feeds your body, your metabolism. It feeds your fat burning.
Yeah.
And it starves disease. And it will be a food style that's customized for you. So you will learn how to do this on your own, because you will, need something completely different from everyone else. And I'm so excited by that, because it couldn't have come at a better time. Like, in the light of this awful, awful US news today, looking at the top diet. So everyone who just joined, we're talking about the US News Today article that rated paleo and the Whole30 as number 32 and 30 some on the best diets to follow. So basically, they're the worst diets to follow. And diets with processed foods and additives and shakes and meal bars and whatever are higher because they're easier, right? So hopefully you got something new to think about, that you will make better food choices, that you will evaluate the sources of the information that you get.
Yeah.
And what's the name of the book again, Michal?
The name of the book is called The Big Fat Surprise, and it's by Nina Teicholz.
How do you spell that?
Oh, I think it's Teicholz. But if you Google The Big Fat Surprise, or if you go to Amazon and you do The Big Fat Surprise, you'll be able to get the book. And I'd like to finish on one thought, is that our entire human existence, once we discovered that we actually have intelligence and cognitive thought, has been trying to prove that we are smarter than nature. And we can never be smarter than the thing that we were created from. So the food that nature gives you is always, always going to be far superior from anything that we could ever manufacture, ever. So every time you make a choice of something you put in your mouth, think about that. It's not to say you can never have something that we've manufactured, but if you're doing it for health purposes, be quite clear that the more natural the food is, probably the better it is for you, because it was made by something a little smarter than you.
I say to patients, if it looks how God made it, or Mother Nature, if you believe in that. So God or Mother Nature, if it looks like how they made it, put it in your mouth. And I don't even care if it's an ant or a worm or a frog's leg, right? Mm-hmm. That is better for you than pasta. That is better for you than some boxed cereal or chocolate bar.
or a Slim Fast shake.
Or a Slim Fast shake, because apparently
Don't
that's
have
good.
those.
So on that note, thank you all for joining us. This was so fun, Michal, and I'm not so pissed off anymore. I got it off my chest.
I'm glad you got to share your frustration. I hope everybody has an amazing afternoon. Go read the article, because I think now you can look at it with fresh eyes and be a little more discerning as to how much you choose to take in.
usnews.com/best-diet.
Yeah, if you just Google US News Best Diets 2018, it's the first thing that comes up. It's big. The first week in January, it's always big stuff. Thanks, you guys.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.